So what are we looking for in leadership? In Vineyard Columbus, we always talk about 5 C's. All right, so we're looking for culture, chemistry, competence, character, and catalytic. And so do they understand our culture? Do they get the Vineyard ethos? And not everybody does. There are great people who don't really understand our particular culture, the way we use language, our dress, why we worship the way we do, how we treat people in evangelism. They just don't get it. They're not wrong or right. There's 1,000 different cultures, but we do have a distinctive culture. And so we want them to be, have just our cultural DNA down in their bones. The second thing is chemistry. Do we connect well on a relational level? So I'm always looking for high emotional IQ. There are really smart people who have low emotional IQ, right? They're not self-aware. They're not socially aware. And so they may be great in writing papers. They may be theologically trained, but they really struggle with chemistry and with people relations. Those folks will not be future great leaders. They may be theologians. They may work in the academy. But in the church, you've got to have a high EQ. And so culture, chemistry, competence. The question would be, what particular task are they being called to do? If they're called to church plant, they obviously need to be decent gatherers. They need to be able to raise up other leaders. They need to be able to communicate effectively. They need to have at least some capacity in terms of casting vision. It depends on what they're being asked to do. So competence, and we lay that out in a job description. Character, you simply can't get past character. If the person has a life-controlling habit at this point in their life, they're not able to exercise significant leadership. Leadership for me is always modeling. I mean, every disciple is called to follow Jesus. But leaders are saying to people, not only am I on this journey of following Jesus, but I want you to follow me on this journey of following Jesus. Imitate me, Paul said, as I imitate Christ. We know we're not perfect models. We blow it all the time. This isn't to raise the bar to the point of, that no one could attain to. But there is, in large measure, a call to model that here's how you resolve conflict. And I'm a person who's free of addictions, as Paul says in 1 Timothy 3, that they're not given to much wine. They're free of addictions. They're hospitable and all of that character. And finally, catalytic. Can they make something happen? Are they folks who can start something? Are they fire starters? So we go through the 5 C's, and we actually, when we're evaluating, we do this often as a team. We actually will grade someone. We'll get together and it may not be all in one room together at one time, but we know Susie and 4 folks would get together and say, hey, let's, we're thinking about this particular task, church planting. Let's run through this. And let's just go through the 5 C's with them. We always do this on our hires on staff. And we'll say, okay, let's grade her, 1 to 5, each area. What does it look like? What's the deficit? And it gives you a pretty clear picture of, Susie really needs to grow in her catalytic abilities. And here's, maybe something we can do with her.